If you're a newbie parent and you want to adopt, this video is for you. We're going to talk about the 10 tips that you need to know as a newbie parent before you embark on your adoption journey. Now, before we get started, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you can get more content like this every single week. Also, if you're new to adoption and you have no idea where to start because of all the information out there, I want to join you to click the link below to join my new 3-day adoption bootcamp. You're going to be hanging out with me for 3 days and other families just like you. And I'm going to teach you the very first step you need to take to adopt successfully. And this is based on almost 10 years of me working as an adoption lawyer and helping hundreds of families through their adoption process. Okay, so if that's you, you're interested, click the link below to join the bootcamp. And I hope to see you starting November 11th. So here are the 10 must-know tips for newbie parents when it comes to adoption. Tip number 1. Your home study should not ever be the very first thing that you do. I know that goes against everything you're hearing on social media and everything you're seeing on Google, but trust me as I tell you, your home study should not be the first step you need to take. The first step you need to take is decide the type of adoption that actually is gonna work best for your family. And that's exactly what we'll talk about in the 3-day bootcamp if you sign up, all right? So again, click the link below to join the bootcamp. Number 2, don't choose the same professional that your friend chose or that somebody told you about in a Facebook group or an Instagram or that you Googled. Why? Because you want to choose a professional you're going to work with based on the level of support that you need. Okay, I've worked with a lot of families. Some families prefer working with consultants because they just feel like that's what they need. Other families are comfortable with an agency because that's just what they want. Other families want to work with a lawyer because that's just what they want. And so you want to choose your professional based on the support that you're wanting and based on your family dynamics and not just based off of somebody that was recommended in a Facebook group, okay? That might end up not turning out very well for you. Number 3 tip that you need to know is that being single could actually be your superpower. So if you're watching this video and you're single, you can adopt. Don't let anybody tell you that you cannot adopt because you're single. I know that sometimes as a single person, it feels like you are in competition with married couples, but there's actually no competition. At the end of the day, if you choose newborn adoption, the biological mother is the one that's deciding the type of family that she wants her baby to be with. And believe it or not, some birth moms choose single moms, single parents to adopt their children. So it doesn't matter if you're married or single. What matters is what kind of family the birth mom is wanting for her child. And if you happen to be the one that she's looking for, then she'll pick you, okay? Even when it comes to international adoption and foster care adoption, all of that also works the same. As a single person, you can adopt internationally. You can adopt from foster care. There is nothing that is stopping you from adopting simply because you're single. The number 4 must-know tip is seriously consider foster care adoption. I know at the very onset, when you're looking into adoption, you're probably thinking about newborn adoption. But this is the thing when it comes to like realistically. There's probably over 100,000 adoptive families in the United States, probably way over that amount, who are waiting for a newborn baby. Okay, so there's a long waiting list because there are so many families waiting. But just to be honest with you, there's not so many women that are just placing the babies for adoption. Okay, that's why in certain states you'll see a waiting list of like 2 to 3 years because it just doesn't happen all that often. Okay, but what we do have is 100,000 children in foster care who literally are waiting for you to adopt them. So if you flip the switch and you actually seriously consider foster care adoption, you are in a way better situation and opportunity to be able to actually be a parent and adopt and provide a safe home for a child. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what you really want, is to be a parent, not necessarily to adopt a certain age group, all right? Number 5, invest in the right resources that are going to help you to take the necessary steps that you need to adopt successfully. Now, over and over again, when I've talked to families that have spent $50,000 on their adoptions, that have been waiting 3 or 4 years to be matched, what I have seen over the years is that they made so many costly mistakes along the way that now that they're at the end of the journey and they're giving up, they're now telling you their story, right? Oh, I waited 4 years and oh, I spent $50,000. But I can literally go back and tell you and find out all the mistakes that they made that caused them to be delayed for all those years and that caused them to spend that much money. And so it doesn't have to take you 3 years to adopt, and it certainly doesn't have to cost you $50,000 to adopt. Just to remind you really quick, is I launching this 3-day adoption bootcamp starting November 11th through the 13th. And we're going to go over the very first step that you need to take for you to start your adoption journey and adopt successfully. Okay. So that's a great way for you to invest right now to help you to get going. So again, the link is below in the description box that you can click on to register for that bootcamp. Number 6 tip that I want to give you is pray and trust God. I feel like this is one of those things that maybe as we're going through your adoption journey, we can maybe forget about, that God is actually the author of everything. He's in everything. And so if you know that God has called you to adopt, then it behooves you to pray and ask him, right? And trust him along the way. So that's my number 6 tip for you, is to really put God at the center of your adoption journey. And he might change your mind, right? You might be thinking, oh God, I really want to adopt a baby. And as you start praying, God might be telling you, hey, I actually want you to consider adopting a child from, South Korea. I might be wanting you to adopt a child from Brazil. And you may have never considered it, but as you're praying and really giving this whole journey to God, he will actually direct your steps. So this is a really, really important tip that you need to know. Number 7 tip that you need to know is don't procrastinate and think that you need to save up $50,000 before you start your adoption journey. There are so many ways that you can fund your adoption now. I mean, so many. There are organizations that give adoption grants. There are loans that you can even do that are interest-free. You can do fundraising. For those who are serious about funding their adoption, there are families who are able to fund their adoption and they end up paying zero money. So they put money in it, but with all the funding and stuff that they get, it end up that they get all of their money back. So you can absolutely fund your adoption. Yes, you're gonna have to put some money into it, but if you do the work of finding the right grants, scholarships, loans, or whatever combinations and fundraising, you can absolutely adopt a child for not as much money as you would think, just because you've actually put your time and energy in getting the resources that you need to fund your adoption. And that leads me into tip number 8, is you need to understand the adoption tax credit. It's one of the most important things that you need to understand when it comes to funding your adoption. And for some reason, this is something that a lot of families don't know about. The adoption tax credit credits you back on your adoption expenses. Okay, I did a video about this at length and went over the entire thing. So if you're interested, I'm actually gonna put a link for that video in the description box below. Basically, you're getting a credit back for your adoption expenses. And the other thing that's really cool is that this year, the maximum credit that you could get was $16,810. But in 2025, it's actually increasing to over $17,000. So if you don't want to do funding, you don't want to do scholarships, you don't want to do grants, you're like, I don't want to apply for any of that, you need to apply for the adoption tax credit, because that's just something that the IRS does and you get the credit back based on your taxes. Number 9 tip that you need to know is read books. Read as much as you can about adoption and trauma, not just adoption of a newborn baby, but adoption in general. You want to read about adoptions. You want to hear from adoptees who had a positive experience. I think it is helpful to learn from adoptees who had a wrong, negative experience with adoption, for the sole purpose of just understanding what not to do. Okay, don't let it deter you from adoption, and don't let it become this oh, maybe I shouldn't adopt, because there is a lot of negative voices out there that are really pushing against adoption, but I don't believe that that's right. Just because somebody had a negative experience with adoption doesn't make adoption itself bad. Okay, that's just what I believe. And also read books on trauma. Okay, it's really, really important to understand trauma, because I think in the adoption realm, especially in the church, it can also almost become like a cuss word, where people just think trauma and then just run away. But trauma is something that is a human experience. Everybody experiences trauma at some stage in their life. And so you just need to understand how that plays in with adoption, so that you are mentally ready for that. And the last tip, number 10, is subscribe to this channel, okay? No, I'm really serious. Subscribe to the channel. Why? Because this channel is dedicated to foster care, adoption, and caring for children in need. Okay, so if you're a newbie and you're just trying to figure out what to do, how this whole adoption thing works, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any new videos that are posted. And lastly, if you're really serious about adoption, what I mean by that is you have decided, I need to take the first step to adopt, okay? I'm done thinking about it. I'm done praying about it. It's time for me to take action. If that's you, I want to invite you again to click the link below and join my 3-day bootcamp that's starting November 11. We are going to talk about the first step you need to take to actually set yourself up for success. So if that's you, you're serious about adoption, you want to know what to do, you want to have the right information, you want to get the right resources, click the link below to register for the bootcamp, and I hope to see you on November 11th. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.